next question was about the government changes to stamp duty. I know sort of Cabinet is still in discussions about that. What sort of inside knowledge can you give us on the stamp duty changes?
I would say don't hold your breath,
Okay.
to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
So if you consider that the multi-billions of dollars we make up, the property industry itself makes up about 13 or 14% of GDP in New South Wales, and property stamp duty is something in the order of, I think, $13 billion is what I read last week. So they need to replace that with something.
That's right.
So there's been discussions that they might just replace it with a broad-based land tax, which means that everybody would have to pay land tax every year, which is not my personal. I mean, I
that's what I heard.
I think that it is very likely that our GST will go up.
Okay.
I don't know by how much, but the more the GST goes up, the more you are able to get rid of other taxes. So, for example, they're also talking about broadening the base of GST. So at the moment, GST is not payable on food, for example. So if you broaden the base of GST, then there's more GST that gets paid, and then you are able to get rid of taxes like stamp duty and payroll tax. But obviously there will be a massive amount of pressure not to broaden the GST base
during these times.
Certainly. But if you do that, then you've got to look at the people that are on welfare. You need to increase welfare payments. So it's a very complicated thing. So to get back to your question, there needs to be massive amounts of consultation with government and with the public before any decisions get made. So it's a long way off.
Okay, sure. All right. And then incentives for first home buyers who are buying new dwellings. Maybe could you tell us a little bit about that?
So there's a call that's gone out from, in particular, the Property Council just recently to talk about a $50,000 assistance package for people buying new property. Now, I think it's important for people to realise this is just a request that has been put out there. So I do believe that Scott Morrison is going to provide some support for the construction industry, because obviously it's a massive employer. What that assistance looks like, we don't know yet.
Okay, so waiting to see.
So we've put a submission. Forward. We, as in the Real Estate Institutes Australia. We have also put some submissions forward to government with some ideas on how they can keep the market stimulated and increase employment and all that kind of thing. But where it lands at this point, we don't know.
Okay, all right. And what do you see as, restrictions slowly start to lift and obviously, I think the government sort of have done a good job at keeping the rate of new cases each day relatively low and whatnot. What do you forecast, say, in the next 6 months or 6 to 12 months to happen in the property market? I know you don't have a
crystal ball. I wish I did. It's a really interesting question, and it just depends on so much, right? So we've seen in Sydney, the preliminary clearance rate on Saturday was 77%. At the auctions. It's massive. So we consider, if you consider that anything over about 62% clearance rates means that prices are rising. 77% is really strong, but it's off a very low base. We don't have a lot of property.
There was an amount of transactions. I've been speaking with a lot of Sydney agents, and particularly people looking out there to buy in areas obviously outside the Central Coast. And the feedback that I'm receiving is that the level of stock is so low. And obviously, as we know, when it comes down to supply and demand, when stock levels are low, that does tend to drive the prices up. So we're watching that Sydney market quite closely, because we do know sort of where the Sydney market, we're about 6 months behind here on the Central Coast, but we do experience that flow-on effect.
Yeah, so you're right. We've certainly got high levels of demand and low levels of supply in most areas. Okay,
Sure.
I'm generalising, but in most areas that is the situation. I'm hearing that there's quite a bit of stock coming onto the market in the next sort of 30 to 90 days.
Right.
So it'll be very interesting to see how that then balances out when we've got more stock to meet, more supply to meet demand. And of course, the banks play a part. I'm hearing the banks are tightening up. They're not lending quite as much money to people.
I've heard the same as well.
So that has an impact. If people, if you were planning on borrowing 600,000 and you can only now borrow 500,000, well, you might just think, well, I can't get what I want for that amount of money, so I'll stay where I am. So, very hard to know.
Lots of different elements impacting it, isn't it?
Totally. And if we get a second wave and we have to shut down again, everything, hopefully within 6 months' time, the economy has kick-started and everybody's working and life's getting back to normal.
Excellent. All right. Well, you've answered all of my questions today.
Fantastic.
And knowing how busy you are, I just wanted to thank you for your time. You've been a wealth of knowledge and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, and thanks for taking the time. All right.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.